Now this is fantastic. Now, here's the thing. Hey there, this is your Master Doodle to my Thomas Hand Doodle with another video. And today, I want to talk about this Fantastic Four First Flight teaser trailer. And I want to talk about everything I liked, didn't like, and things I was kind of okay about. Because there's a lot to say about this little teaser. Now, one thing that I really like is the vibe of this trailer. How not gloomy or dark it feels, even though it does have darker undertones that I want to talk about a little bit. But I do like the music, I love the feeling, the bright blueness of everything, which is nice because of the Fantastic Four's uniform that I also want to talk about. But it also gets me into, like, the kind of darkness that I feel like this trailer has. And if anything I say does end up happening in the movie, I guess I'll put a spoiler warning, because I am going to talk about little theories that I have for it. Like, literally the beginning of this trailer, it shows Reed Richards, wanting to bring in people in to show what his life is like as part of the Fantastic Four. Saying that he has a family dinner 7 on the dot. And normally that'd just be like, oh, Reed Richards is, very strict on it. But you ever think about why he would be very strict on the time? One, this man is autistic. So, being on time, having structure is a big thing. But it's also, I think, because of everything that's happened with, him accidentally giving his family superpowers. And I say that because Reed is the smartest man in the room. He knows that. But he can also get lost in his work. So I feel like he did this strict time for dinner just so he can have time to, be with his family, because he had a lot of responsibilities outside of that. And I do feel like Reed does also feel responsible for what he did to his family, because he didn't, just calm down and think. So I feel like even though that's a little small thing in this trailer, I do feel like that's a big important thing, and it does show in the rest of the trailer. But here's the thing. Yes, now I want to talk about Ben Grimm's new design here, with the CGI. I'm going to be very honest. I was honestly not 100% with it. Not because it was bad, but because I couldn't believe it was there. I know it's weird to say since, it's a rock monster, but it just felt kind of fake, if that makes sense. I know it's weird because, it's CGI, so of course it's fake. But what I mean, it just didn't feel like it existed until I kept rewatching the trailer over and over and over and over. I know it doesn't make sense, but that's how I saw that. I was like, you know what? Now I can actually believe it exists. I believe he's there. I don't know why that took me so long to realize that, but that's cool. But there is one thing that I'm also kind of not 100%. It's the voice. And the reason why is because a lot of times when he portrays a thing, he has a more of a gravelly voice. So it's really hard to see that big guy with a very normal, down-to-earth voice, which I think could be the point that, he is a big monster. He's looking like a big monster, but he's just a sweet guy. And I feel like that goes into him wearing clothes. I actually love the fact that this version of the thing is wearing, something else to differentiate himself from all the other versions, but also to go into his character that the thing wants to still be perceived as a human being. Because in other parts of the show, it shows him wear regular clothes, even outside of his superhero outfits, like with the trench coat, which I thought was beautiful. The fact that we actually got the, but if you notice, he's not just wearing a trench coat, just trench coat and nothing there. He's wearing a suit under there. And that is cool. But with the Fantastic Four suit that he's wearing literally in the beginning, it's a full suit just like everyone else. The only thing different is that he's not wearing gloves because, he's, Rock. I don't think he needs it. But I love that, he's still trying to be normal. Now that leads me into Herbie. I love the fact that they introduced Herbie in this trailer. I know he was already teased in the poster from last year, but seeing him here, moving around, making food is so cool. Seeing that, Herbie actually contributes to the family. And I love the design because it also makes me think of a cassette player or something like that, with the 60 vibes that this, trailer is trying to give off. But I also find it funny that, Ben is also trying to, put his own little cooking style into it, which also is kind of goes into him, trying to be more human and be sweet, which of course he is. He's the ever-loving thing. But then we get in the scene of Reed talking to Sue, talking about how he feels bad about the fact that, he turned everyone into this, with all their powers. And I love they're going to probably go more into Reed's guilt into turning them into this, which I said in the beginning. But I love they're actually more saying it by showing them in their astronaut suits and, Ben looking at a TV, seeing his old self, and then him saying he's really attractive, and then going back to just seeing Ben himself in his, Rock form. And that's really sad. And it's really cool that we probably get to see more of that. And I know they said that they were not going to make this film a origin film, but I like that they're probably going to sneak into that, like as memories of like, hey, this is very traumatic for me, especially for Ben. Of course he is, right? But I also like that it shows Johnny here. I love that Sue just basically says that Johnny is Johnny, even though Reed is trying to say all the accidents, like, oh, Ben is a rock now. And then Sue, which I think is going to be the heart of this entire film, is saying that he was always a rock. But I feel like what she means is that, he's thick-headed, and also that he's the rock of the group. He's the thing that holds them together. At least that's the way I read that. But I love how she says that about Johnny, because Reed says, but Johnny's in flames, and she says, Johnny's always been Johnny, being a fiery head. But that makes me think, because of the way they portray Johnny in this trailer, it's interesting. I feel like what they're going to do with Johnny's abilities is the fact that, it's going to go by emotions. That every time he gets excited or gets super pumped, adrenaline, he's going to go into flames. And I feel like that's going to be a problem for someone like Johnny, who is a fiery head. He is someone who just goes by adrenaline. He just goes by energy. So I feel like that would be a problem, and why I think he would be okay with Reed taking their powers away, which I feel is going to happen in this film, which is why Reed is trying to, do equations, as we see in that scene. But again, I love that Sue is trying to comfort her husband. That is what we need to see, more of Sue loving her family. Now, here's another scene that I was kind of back and forth on, and that is how they portrayed Johnny going into flames, or going flame on. Because it looks good, but it also feels somewhat off to me. That's to me. It could be just how I'm seeing it, and it probably is. But it's probably because I really liked how in the original Fantastic Four film from 2005 made them look. It still looks good to this day. And I don't know, I just really like that version so much that it felt really off seeing what it's going to look like here. But I've heard some theories that the reason why the Fantastic Four suits look the way they do, which I want to talk about a little more in a little bit, with the lines they have, is so when Johnny turns into flames, he's going to have like the lines to emulate the ones in the earlier comics that he was in. And that would actually be very cool. But I don't know about the flames. That's what I mean. The flames is a bit of an off, but it doesn't mean that I don't like how it looks when he flies. It's still cool. The heat, the oomph of it, that is really nice. And speaking of abilities, I really like how they portrayed Susan Storm's abilities here. Because normally, in the past, we would normally see the invisible shield or whatever, how she uses her powers in a more of a blue tint, or a more just, transparent look of like something wavy there, so something's moving. But I like this one that it looks more, colorful, a little more wavy, if that makes sense. I don't know how to really explain it, but it looks so good. And that makes me go more in depth with the costume here, especially with her. I like how it's kind of mixing a lot of the Fantastic Four's uniform from, the blue and white that we normally see, to kind of a more modern one with the palm of the suit, where it comes from here to up here, actually looking like the more modern one where the Fantastic Four suit was inverted from black to blue. And I feel like that's a cool design. And if you notice a little bit later that every one of the suits is slightly different, I think to match each one's personality, which I think is cool. Now, this is another one where I'm also kind of like, weirded out. It's probably going to be explained in the movie, but it's the fact that, Johnny goes to fly up into the atmosphere, or I guess above the atmosphere, and is just in normal clothes. That makes me wonder if either they're not going to explain that the reason why the Fantastic Four's, suits don't burn or get destroyed is because they're unstable molecules. I don't know if they're going to explain that, because I feel like that would be a very big thing to ignore. Or has Reed already, made clothes for them that can, adapt to their powers? Which I think would be really cool to finally see, the unstable molecules be used outside of their normal suits. And I also say that because of what Ben wore in the fedora and trench coat. Because again, he's also wearing normal clothes. So is that from the unstable molecules? I don't know, I'm just curious. That was just something that popped in my head. I like how they showed these little kids in the trailer to probably show that this movie goes through a long period of time, because, Ben feels like a monster. He doesn't like himself, but he's going to slowly accept himself. I don't think they're going to go as strong as the 2005 version, because we've already seen that. We're probably going to see like a big time jumps and show that Ben goes from not being liked to being really loved, like this shows in the kids when they're wearing the Thing masks. So would it be really cool? And I noticed in this trailer they show this old man, and my first thought was the Red Ghost, a Fantastic Four villain that has cosmic radiation powers because he went up to space with his gorillas and got their own abilities, which I think will actually go into the Cold War maybe in this film. I'm not sure if they're going to go into that completely because I think that would be a little weird, but it would go into like, the space race. And I think that would be cool that the Fantastic Four are trying to get rid of their powers while other people are trying to get powers. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it would be kind of cool to see that. And maybe they'll make the red ghost powers not seem funky because he has, gorillas that also have powers. And another thing that I also found really cool was the fact that we got to see the Fantastic Car here. And we know that in the Fantastic Four panel, we got to see that it's technically supposed to fly. So that's going to be cool seeing that this Fantastic Car is going to, be able to do multiple things. It's going to be funny, though, because technically the one in 2005 is more comic accurate looking than this one. But it makes sense because this is supposed to be like the 60s type aesthetic, and that car was it was more popular back then. And one other thing that I found super cool is the fact that we are finally getting Galactus. Now, we only saw like a shadow and the back of his head, but that is so cool to see. We are finally getting comic accurate Galactus. That is something that this movie will already have beat from the earlier films because they are not shying away from what he's supposed to look like. And I know this movie has had people already complain about things just because they wanted this movie to be failed so much. I've explained some of the complaints that I have, but not big. People were complaining that the Galactus was too small, which makes you know that a lot of people don't know what Galactus' abilities are actually, because Galactus has been shown that he can change his size as much as he wants, to talk to the people before he's going to devour the world, like a warning. And that makes me excited for the new Herald Galactus. And I don't know if it's going to be a gender bend version of Silver Surfer, or it's just going to be the regular Silver Surfer's girlfriend that also gets turned into the Silver Surfer. I'm not 100% sure how this is working because it did happen in the comics. I'm just hoping it's done well and tastefully. I'm just excited for that. And so we end off this amazing teaser trailer with Sue saying they're doing this
as a family.
A family, and I love that. And then we go into their full costumes. Like I said beforehand, they're going with the fact that this is a very classic looking Fantastic Four, but with some minor tweaks so everyone can have their personalities. Because unlike Reed in this one, it shows that he doesn't have the white on his collar, and it also shows that Ben is not wearing gloves, and that Ben and Johnny have the white going down to their arms instead. So that's interesting. But there's also something that I've noticed in this entire film. They've shown everyone else's abilities throughout this, teaser trailer. They showed the Ben's strength, him just being Ben. They showed Johnny's, fire powers. They've shown Sue's, force field, but they never showed Reed's. Now, I feel like the reason why is because it's really hard to show someone doing stretchy powers in live action, as they've showed in the past, where it can look kind of funky. Now, I don't find it as that bad in the last times we would see it, but I understand why people think it look weird, especially when Reed can do more than just stretch his body. He can, be elastic in his entire body, so that would look really weird. So I understand why they, didn't show it, or maybe they're not, done with the VFX of it all. But I understand why they're kind of, slowing it down and not just showing us. Now, again, this trailer was so fun. It was so good to see a trailer that was not gloomy. It was not dark. It was not just gray, as the MCU has been shown to do. And that's why I like the fact that this is an entire, alternate universe. I know some people are saying that, oh, this is just somehow in the MCU somehow, but that doesn't make any sense for the 60s aesthetic they're doing. It's like a futuristic format. It doesn't make sense. I don't know how people are thinking that's probably going to be in the MCU. So the only way they can do this is being an alternate universe, and I like that a lot. I think that's why I have a lot more enjoyment for this trailer and why I'm more excited than like Captain America Brave New World. Mainly because that movie still gives me kind of some gray vibes, and it's kind of okay. I know they're trying to go for a Winter Soldier vibe, but it's or how I'm not really excited for the Thunderbolts. I'm kind of excited, but not as much. But with this one, no, they made it bright and colorful because of the aesthetic, and it makes sense, and it makes me excited because they don't have to deal with the continuity of the MCU. It's not bogged down by that. So that would be cool. And I do like the theory that the Fantastic Four are gonna fail, and that they're gonna get hopped on to a new universe, as they showed where Reed Richards was, scribbling onto the wall, and that we saw a little side where we saw a dimensional shift going on. And that makes me question what is he doing that for? Is he just that curious? Because Reed, in normal cases, is very curious. He just wants to see what's out there. They're explorers. That's what I also want to see about this film. That they're not just going to be superheroes. I mean, I hope they are superheroes, but that they're also, just people who like to explore the galaxy. Because that's how they even got into space in the first place. They were just trying to see the stars. They were trying to be the first ones. So maybe, this is a big theory of mine. I don't know if it's going to happen, but maybe they are going to go into a wormhole to, try to figure out, maybe get help from someone else, and then they realize their world gets destroyed and they get stranded into the MCU, and with their bright, colorful costumes, they're going to get noticed as new people. I don't know, there's a lot of holes in that, but that's just one of my theories that I've had while looking into this. But that's everything I have to say about this trailer. I am excited. Again, there are things that I'm a little worried about, but overall, this has got me so excited for a Marvel movie, and it's really rare, and it's been a long time. But what do you think? Did you like this little teaser trailer? What did you think about each one's design? I would really like to know. What did you think about the aesthetic, the music? I personally love the music. I really like to know all your opinions. But hey, if there's nothing else, this has been Doodlemite. I hope everyone stays nerdy, and I hope to see everyone in the next video. Bye!